The opinions expressed in the following webinar are those of the presenters and do not necessarily reflect the official policies or views of the Editors Association of Canada or its members. All right, thank you so much for joining us today. Editors Canada would like to read out a land acknowledgement statement for now. Editors Canada acknowledges that we operate on the traditional territories of First Nations and Inuit and Métis peoples across what is now known as Canada. We encourage you to learn more about your local Indigenous communities and engage in meaningful actions that contribute to reconciliation, such as supporting Indigenous-led organizations. So today, our presenter, Derek Boddy, will be presenting a webinar called Quick Wins for Editors, Essentials of a Professional Online Presence. Derek Boddy is an experienced web developer with over 12 years in the industry, specializing in creating engaging and user-friendly websites. As the founder and owner of Mango Innovation, Derek leads a dynamic web design and development agency known for providing innovative digital solutions and exceptional user experiences. He proudly spearheaded the redesign and development of the Editors Canada website, significantly improving its functionality, accessibility, and overall user experience. Driven by a strong desire to make a positive impact on the Editors Canada community, Derek is committed to giving back by sharing his extensive knowledge through educational webinars and ongoing support. Please go ahead, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you for that amazing intro. So happy to be here. Real excited to be doing this webinar. Felt like it was time to do something special like this. So let's definitely jump into it. Okay, so I put together a little slideshow just to intro everybody what we're going to be covering today. So we already got the intro about myself, so we can definitely jump into the next slide. So today I wanted to cover what we're going to be doing on this webinar. So here's a list of the agenda so everybody can visually see it. We're going to be choosing the right WordPress theme, setting up a website, a simple website, some essential plugins for editors and for WordPress, quick SEO and security tips. And then at the end, there'll be a Q&A session when you can ask me questions and I'll answer them, even questions related to some of the things I may have covered in today's webinar. So feel free to write those questions down. We can always circle back to them. Let's jump into it. So to start off with the webinar, I wanted to talk about hosting. So hosting is one of the most important things I would say about a website. You want to pick a really solid hosting company. Obviously, I know when it comes to hosting, you always have to be budget concerned. So I wanted to highlight some good web hosting plans that I've come across for WordPress, which is provided by GoDaddy. I recently been talking to them and they actually have reevaluated their WordPress stance and made some really great plans for um, editors and anybody else who wants to start hosting in their own website, but they want to do it in a cost-effective way, but they also don't want to compromise on security, backing up, and everything like that. So these plans are pretty cool. I've checked them out. I've used them. In this actual demo, we're going to be using one of the plans actually, this one here, the Managed WordPress Ultimate for the demo that I'm going to be doing. So you guys will kind of get to understand a little bit of that plan and what it's all about and how helpful it is for what we do when it comes to building websites. Another one more thing else I wanted to mention with GoDaddy, if you're starting from scratch and you need to buy a domain, you can buy a domain with GoDaddy. You can always go at the top of their site and go to domains and you can actually search for a domain and buy one. And then after you buy a domain, you can actually connect it to a plan, one of these managed WordPress plans. So right off the bat, you can get started from one place. Another hosting platform that I also suggest and use for my clients is WP Engine. Great hosting plan, a little bit more on the premium side. So if you have a site that you feel like is growing, has a lot of traffic, maybe you're running your own blog and you get a lot of traffic and you want something that can really handle the extra traffic, WP Engine is another good option. A little bit more on the premium side, so that's why the pricing is a little different from what you see from GoDaddy. But another great option. Their plans are great. They offer backups. They offer great support. I also worked with them and used their services too. Great. Another one I would also recommend. So let's get to the fun part. So today I want us to build this website. So I felt like picking a template that's related to editors and freelancer copywriters. So I picked this template. I felt it was right on the dot for what everybody does. So in today's session, we're actually going to just quickly set up this template. It's a great starting template if you're an editor and you want to build a website for yourself to showcase your skill sets and have a place for people to really learn a lot about you and for you to have testimonials and things like that. One thing I will say right off the bat, looking at this website, which I like why I picked it, it's very simple, straight to the point, but very personal. Right here, you have a picture of this individual right here. So it makes you feel more personal. You kind of know who you're doing business with. And that in today's age, personal branding, especially if you're going to have a website that's related to your personal brand and your business, you want to introduce yourself this way. It helps people to feel connected to you and feel like they know who they're giving their money to. It's really, I like how you just like, hi, I'm Brian. It just brings you right in. You understand who you're dealing with. So it's really great. I like that. Right here, you see that it's talking about the clients that they work with. So you're already getting that social proof of like, these are the people they've worked with. They talk about their services, get right into it. Then they have testimonials, which is also another great social proof to show like people what are you all about. The about us section and then some awards. And then they also have another testimonial, and then boom, right at the bottom, again, another just pulling people back in to say, hey, if you want to work with me, this is how you this chat. And then at the bottom they have some social media links. I also like that on this template, there's a section for you to highlight work. So you can easily, if you're doing blogging, market campaigns, anything related to editing, copywriting, you can easily highlight that kind of stuff on this template. And then also, which I'm going to show you to do in this demo, you have a blog. So if you want a blog to help you also help get a ranking with Google, blogging is a great way to do that. You know, you want to. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm not going to go too much deep into the nuances of SEO just yet. I just want to give a highlight. Um, there's also a testimonial section too. Again, going through testimonial social proofs, always great. Can't go wrong with that. And then the most important thing, a contact us section. This section makes it easy for people to get a hold of you. Phone number, if you want to provide your address, not necessary per se on all websites, really. On my own website, I don't even provide my address. It's not necessary. Really, the main thing people want to know is they just want an email address. They want a phone number. If you want to provide it, again, you don't have to. At least an email address and then a contact form so somebody can fill it out, get a hold of you. So always make yourself accessible, easy for people to get a hold of. So today, this is what we're building. We're going to be building this pretty cool site. All this is customizable. So if you don't like the colors, the color scheme, all that can be changed. Even the images can easily be changed. In this template, they provide the images just to give you a starting run. But obviously, with your own site, you're going to want to change these. So this is what we're building. All right, so let's get into it. So I already set up a staging site, so we can just jump right into it. I didn't want to go through this webinar to actually set up WordPress and everything like that. I'll just make it a lot longer and cumbersome. Can even maybe there'll be a follow-up. We can do a follow-up session where I actually install a site from scratch. But I wanted to at least get into actually showing you how to build your own site quickly, get those quick wins real fast. So first thing is once you're in WordPress, once you're logged in, you have the dashboard, the posts, media. This is a clean install, so there's nothing really, and there's no plugins or anything. That's why you see that this list is super short right now. We're about to change that. So I went to appearance, I went to themes. Then we're going to actually go and hit add new, and then we're going to search. The theme that we're going to use in this demo is accessible. It's free. I just try to use all free resources just to make it easy for everybody today. So literally, you can go just type in the search bar the name of the theme that we're going to be using today, which is Astro. So you hit that. Here it is. We're going to install it. Activate it. Okay, great. So now the theme is installed, we want to get it set up. Like we want to start using it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the actual theme and we're going to go start customizing. In here, you'll see that nothing's set up right now, which is fine. Don't fret. I just wanted to show you this section. In this section, you have global settings, header, builder, the breadcrumb, blog. All that stuff is great. but it's not set up. It looks weird. It's not working, right? So the first thing is we need to get it going. We need to go. So you can actually go to start, starter templates. Which is where we're gonna find the one that we're gonna use. We're gonna install that. That's a plugin it's gonna be installing. Let it do its thing. Okay. So now we want to start building. So for the example here, we're going to use the Gutenberg builder. With Astro, you can use different builders. I can show you right here. You can use the Gutenberg is also the block editor. You can use Elementor. You can use Beaver Builder. For the sake of simplicity, we're going to use the block editor. I want to make things very simple for everybody, so that's why I switched over to here. Then you can search for the different templates. They have lots of cool templates in here, free ones. They also have some premium ones, but we're going to be using a free one today. So I'm going to look for freelance to find that template that showed you earlier. There it is. So we want to use this one. So for now, I'm gonna leave it exactly the same default. I'm not going to change the color scheme, anything like that. I'm just going to leave it the same for the sake of time and keep it simple. We're going to hit continue. I'm not going to set that up for now. We don't need that. All we need for this is we just need the page builder, which is already selected, and the contact form, which is fine too. There's a contact form called Shore form, which will be installed with this. We're going to hit continue. Don't need to fill out this information. We don't need them sharing the data, and we want to hit submit. And that's going to start building. So what's happening right now is downloading the template from their server, installing all the files for that. It's downloading like the text, the images. So all that's happening right now. It's also setting up the plugins. It's setting the settings for these plugins that are going to be used. It's configuring everything important to content. So all that's happening right now in the background. So that's why it's taking a little bit, because it has to download all that stuff to your website and set it all up. So it takes a little bit, pretty fast, obviously, but still takes a little time. Okay, perfect. Done. So two things we're going to do. I'm gonna open two tabs here. One, just show you what we got. One, we're going to let you click this first tab. It's going to show us what we got. So boom, there's the template that, as I promised. So this is what it looks like. Now that we see what we built, which looks good for a template, we're going to actually now go to view dashboard. So that'll take us back to the WordPress dashboard, so we can actually start customizing what we built. So I'm just going to do some simple customizations to this, nothing crazy for now, but let's start jumping into those things. So again, let's go back to customize again. Now it's going to look a lot different because now we actually have the theme set up. What I want to do, the first thing is I want to change this logo. That's not my logo, so we want to change that. So simple changes can easily be done. So you can go to site identity. Right now, I redid this template over again, so that's why some of the data is there. I tried to purge it, but it wasn't there. But one of the things is I do want to change is I want to change the logo. I want this logo to be my logo. So you can go change. It's gonna load all the images. My logo is already in here already because I already uploaded from before, just so for the sake of time. But I can click on my logo. Want to make sure it's nicely sized. And boom, this template automatically uses the black scale. So that's why I converted my logo to black, just to be consistent with the branding here. But we can always change that if that was needed. But in this case, don't need to, you can change the design of how that works. So we're going to hit publish. Boom. So that change is saved. We changed the logo. That looks great. Happy with that. Now, let's say now we want to just go back to this page for a second. Let's say now we want to make some other changes to the theme. Like, my name is not Brian, obviously it's Derek. So let's change that. So how you do that is if you go to all pages, you go to the home page, which is the front page right there. Since we're using the Gutenberg editor, makes it a lot easy to edit this page. Very simple customization CMS. Literally, you'll see if you see the page right now, as you see it, you can click on the actual text. and you can change it. I'm just going to highlight to make it easier for sake of speed, and boom, now it's there. Um, maybe I am a copywriter, so we'll leave that alone. But as you can see, it's very easy to go through this section and change it. For example, if I actually want to look at this whole section and see, you can look through the different settings for it and see it, how it's all configured. As you can see, it configured everything for you right off the bat, which is really cool. One thing that if you want to understand how the system works is it layers things. So you can actually click on these three dots here, and it'll show you the different containers and how everything is layered. And then you can find everything right here. There's if you want to get things quicker. So this is the text that where my name, where I put my name in. This is the button. You can click on that if you want that button to be different, like you want to change the text on that button, or you want to make that a link. Right now, that link it's not linked anywhere. Again, this is the template. With any template, they help you give you a head start, but they don't do everything. So with any template, I always tell everybody to go through the template, look through it, check the links, redo the content, make sure everything is working because they just put together to give you a run and start. They're not going to do everything for you. So right off the bat, let's talk is not working because they don't know where you want that to go. In this case, I know where I want let's talk to go. I want to go to the contact page. Let me just double check the URL on that one. Yes, so it's just contact. Yeah, so you want it to go to contact. So easy fix. We just put in the URL, make it. I made it a relative one, so it's easy. What all the relative means is it just means if you ever when you right now we have what's called a staging domain. This is just it's not your real domain, it's a temporary domain. So I put what's called a relative link. So when you change your domain to the real domain that you're going to use, this will stay the same and it'll still go back to the right page. If I put in the full URL of the contact page, it may not be updated. So that's just a little web trick, just show everybody. That's how you do that. Okay, so we're looking through this page. I'm not going to change all the copy on it right now for the sake of this demo, but you can see you can see it's very easy to change the copy on this. And if you want to click on an image, you can easily go here and change it. So if you actually do have logos for different companies you work with, you can easily swap them out, put them right here by click on it and go to change image, and then boom, you can easily change that image for the image of the company you may have worked with. Very simple, very easy to do. So that's one thing I love about WordPress, and this template's very simple and great and easy for you to utilize and customize very quickly. How they did it in this template is they actually made the footer part of every page. Some templates allow you to have what's called a universal footer where you can just edit the footer once and it copies across all the sites. In this template, they did it for every single page individually. So little annoying, but it is what it is. So that means for every page, when you want to make changes, you have to go to each page and make changes on each individual page footer. So for here, if I want to update like the Facebook your link to go to where I want to go to. Right now it's turned off, but you can click here and then you can put on your Facebook link and then that's how you would fold these in. So for now, we're done with the home page. We're gonna hit save on that. And then you can go, I still have this page open. You can see I can refresh it and boom, there's my name there still. Okay, so next step. I actually want to be able to create a blog post. So what I'm going to do is a couple of things here. I'm going to show you how to do that. First thing is I want to turn on cloning, which allows you to just clone a page and it makes subtle changes to it for yourself. So let's do that. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to go to back to I want to install a plugin. A plugin or extra functionality that you can add to your WordPress website. Plugins can come in many different shapes and forms. The really advanced plugins have a lot of functionality and the simple ones. So right now, we're going to install a plugin. We're going to install a couple of plugins right now. Since we're here, might as well do them. That will help you to improve your website. So some of the plugins we're going to install, one is Honest. It's a SEO plugin. We're not going to use it just yet, but I want to install it since we're here. And then it also helped me find that plugin that I want to show after you, which is for duplication, which is very, very helpful. Okay, so we're going to install the SEO plugin like I mentioned. So we're going to hit install on that. And then I also want this duplication one. This will make it easy for me to duplicate posts and pages, which is what we're going to do today too. Okay, so they're both installed. with plugins, when you install them, they don't automatically get activated. This one automatically activated. Some will automatically do it, but more like this one, it just installed, but it's not active. The only way for a plugin to work, you have to activate it. So we're gonna activate it. Okay. I want to install one more plugin that will be useful for today, which is Word Fence. This is a security plugin. This helps for us to, oops, keep losing it. There it is. This helps to help secure your website. So this plugin has the ability to create a firewall for you. It does scanning for viruses and also helps with login security. So great plugin to have. Again, we're gonna circle back to that one again. So I'm gonna activate that too. And we'll come back to it. I just want to get the plugins installed. Okay. Oh, no, this wasn't activated. We're gonna activate that one too. Okay. Just want to get all these plugins installed and we'll circle back to them all. These close the notifications for now. We will be circling back to them. Okay. All right. Okay. So first things first, I wanted to create a post. We're gonna go all posts. Again, like I said, blogging is a great thing for your website to help you improve SEO. People, when they're searching for content, they're gonna search for keywords. And a blog post is another way to drive traffic to your site. In this post, I'm just gonna do a very, very simple post. That's wrong minus after. A very simple post just to show you how to add a post to how to create a post gallery on your site. So that's literally what we're doing here today. So I'm just gonna do test one and literally just add some test content on here. Literally, this is just for the sake so that we can have some posting here when I create the blog page. So we're gonna hit publish. Okay, let's add another one. That's two. Oh, that's content in here. Nothing crazy, like I said, just literally for the sake of this demo, keeping it really simple. This one, I'm actually gonna give it a category. Um, let's see here. Let's call it learning. Yeah, we'll call it learning for now. I'll just add that category. At least so like there's categories in there. So we're gonna publish that. Okay, so we got our two posts. Great. Let's go back to pages. So I enabled that cloning tool, and now you understand why I did that. So we want to clone a page that's simple so that we can use for our blog. So we can go back to the site again. Can look through the different pages, see which ones all the design is. They're all pretty much the same for the most part, I would say. So there's nothing crazy there. So I'm just looking through them to see which one do I like the most to help us before when I want to clone. I think for me, what I'm going to use is I'm probably just going to use the work page. I'm going to clone that one and just delete the stuff we don't use, and then we'll add our blocks. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard here. So there's work. We're going to clone it. So literally just copies the page and all the content in it, which gives us a head start. So now we're going to go to edit. It saves it as a draft because obviously it knows that you're probably going to edit it after you clone it. You're not going to just leave it. With WordPress, you can't leave file pages the same URL and same name. It will cause conflicts, so it automatically doesn't let you save. So if I hit save right now, it won't work because work has already been taken as a URL. So, which is fine in this scenario. It doesn't really matter. We're changing anyways. So we're going to call it a blog. Right now, this is going to be the title. Again, super simple. Call it blog again. That'll be the title that shows up on the actual page. And I'm just going to make my life easy, you can click the three dots like I brought up again. We're going to delete these sections. We don't need them because we are going to be replacing them for the blog. So we're just going to delete this one, and we're going to delete this one. So now we just have two, which is fine. What we're gonna do now for this, how this template works, they use what's called containers. That's where you keep all the content in. We're gonna go to the plus right here. You're gonna click on that, and then you're gonna hit container, and it's gonna drag it right here, put it in there. We're gonna keep it wide, just one width, which that's what that is. Perfect. And then we're gonna go back here, and we're gonna search for posts. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use called a post grid. So what I'll do is I'll display a grid of posts that are on your site. So I'm gonna drag that here, drop that in there, and then boom, it's already showing the two posts that we created because it's already pulling that information in from the database of posts that we created. So as you add new posts, it'll automatically just keep adding these here for you. This is the grid that goes. Right now, it's going to show you 6 per page, and then once you go past 6, then there'll be an option to just go like load more. So that's a good start. I like this. So I'm going to hit publish. Okay, so if you go back to your site, you're going to be like, where is the blog? If you look in the header, it's not there. You don't see it. You're probably like, what happened to the, why can't I see the blog here? Why didn't it automatically add? You got to add menu items to your site. So to do that very easily, you can go back to the dashboard. We're going to go to appearance. We're going to go to menu. And we're going to add the blog as an option. So right there, you can see recent. This will show you recent pages that you created. So we'll just click on that one. We'll hit add. And I don't want the bottom of the menu. So I want it right, I say right after work, maybe. Again, you can always rearrange this. It's easily drag and drop. I'm going to hit save. And now it's saved. So then we're going to refresh the page, and then boom, there's blog. Let's check out the new blog page we just created. And here it is. Very simple. Again, this is a simple template, but what will happen here is as you add more blog posts, this will grow. So you'll just start, more and more of them will load in automatically. So pretty simple, easy to use. One other thing I wanted to show you actually in the editor, which is kind of cool. Um, let's go to the home page. Actually, I'll show it you there. So in the editor, you can actually get to show you what the site's going to look like. So when you're updating your content, one of the things you always want to look at is you want to have a responsive website, especially in the digital age we live in. The main devices that people use is their cell phones, their tablets, and their laptops. Depending on your demographic of the people who consume your content, they may be more likely to get to your content via a cell phone. If you're on social media, a lot of times, a lot of people are probably going to be jumping to your links probably from their phone. So you always want to make sure your website is responsive and mobile friendly from the start. It just makes it easier for people to get to the content, and you want to also make that easy for them to find the content they want. So with this editor, you can easily toggle between the different versions of the site to see what your site looks like in the different viewing points. So in this case, we want to see what the site looks like on mobile. So we click mobile, and now you can see your site actually looks like. So if you don't like how the content is displaying, which is why I would suggest you to test this, you can easily tweak it. And what this does is sets up, because we're using a page builder, I'm not going to set up a code to automatically only show certain things and tweak the code based on if it's for a mobile device. So if you make changes, these changes will be saved just for mobile devices. Right now, this design looks pretty good. I'm good with it. I don't see no issue why I would change it, obviously. But this is just, I wanted to explain that to you if you wanted to change things. Like maybe this text is there's too much text here, or you need to change the indenting. You can make those changes here. That's the cool thing. This template is using what's called a approach where it literally is in columns. So as the site gets smaller, it just drops all the way down the content. So uh, this being a mobile device, and small screen, everything kind of just falls under each other. So that's why this is happening. So this site is very responsive. You can see what it looks like on the tablet if you're curious too, to see how your content loads. All great ways. And things I would suggest to test with your site after you build it is to check to see how it loads on these different devices. Very important, very helpful. Okay, so Since we're also on this page, let's jump into some light SEO and tricks that I can teach you about when in regards to that. So right off the bat, like I mentioned before, we install that Giannis plugin. Great plugin, very helpful. So what that plugin does is it helps you to in- install meta tags on your website. Meta tags are what Google uses and other search engines use to index your website. So what it does is it'll read the title, which is the title of the website. You can set it, and then I'll read the description. Each page will have a meta title and it'll have a meta description. So you always want to make sure you're inputting that information. So if we scroll down, this also gives you a preview of what that metadata data will be pulled in from your site to what Google is going to be displaying. So right off the bat, this is going to give you a preview what when you Google your site, what is Google reading on your reading pulling from your site right off the bat. So right now it says home WordPress site. This is just a generic title that WordPress automatically generates for a website when you first start. So you can change that, which we will do. And then you have the meta description. There's nothing there right now, so it's kind of just giving you default filler text because it doesn't have a meta description. So what we want to do is we want to, for the homepage, you want to tweak this a little bit. I always like to have the homepage just have the site title. So I would actually turn these off. So it looks more like this. And then I like it. And then I'll also give like a description here where in this case, again, this is not a live site. So whatever I write here doesn't really matter besides not being indexed. But as you can see here, you would type something in here. You want the description to be descriptive with keywords of what your site is all about. Again, there is a limit to it because this is what's going to be previewed when somebody sees your site. So you also want to give that best first impression. So again, just put in test data in here just to show you how that it all kind of works. And at the top here, you want to put a focus keywords. This also helps with indexing for Google. So this is just, I'm going to save this for now, but I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to do another one actually on another page, but I want to make one little change just to show you how how this all comes together. So we're going to go back actually. We're going to go to settings. We're going to go to general. And that's where the site title you saw that a page was being pulled. It's actually being pulled from right here. So right now I'm just going to just keep it real simple. And I'm just going to go, I am Derek. Um, I am let's do a freelance editor. Again, this is all tests, so it doesn't really matter what we put in, but I just want to show you kind of how it all works. And then you can scroll down to the bottom and save it. So we're going to do that. Okay, so if you actually were to go back to the whole page, you'll see now on the top of the tab right here, it changed. That's the site title. And this is the same site title that will be loaded by Google when it actually indexes your page. For your homepage, that's what's going to load. It's going to load that site title. We just said it. Now, if you want to change the descriptions and everything for the inner pages, let's go look at one. Let's do the blog, for example. We'll scroll down to the bottom again. So as you can see, there's the site title, and then it gives you the dash, which is representative of the page that it's on. So with Google, it'll index all your pages and all your on your website, but then you'll have when you're looking at if it's indexing for saying the blog, you'll see it'll say blog and then the site title. So that's fine. If you don't like that order, or if you want to change, you can always change these. You can always read up on Giannis's wiki sites how to actually like how these work. But literally, these are just values of how they work. So they're pretty self-explanatory. Titles, obviously, the title, page. So it's pulling that data, and then there's a separator which is there, and then the site title. So literally, that's how this is populated. Again, for every page on your website, I always suggest that people put in a meta description and give it a focus keyword. It just helps for its light SEO on your site. There's more in-depth ways of going at. I'm not going to dive too deep into that, but this is just some basic SEO that help you get started, at least to help your site look good on Google. Very simple, very easy to do. Just gets you going, which is I would say, a good way to go from there. So I'm going to leave because I didn't really make any changes on this page. So when it comes to the actual Giannis um, plugin, it will so this plugin literally is to help you get going on SEO. It's like your little jump start. So you can do a first time configuration. I already did it once. That's why this is already filled out. But what happened, there'll be a little bit of a guide where you can fill in all the information. I can edit the stuff. You can select your social media. All this helps for it to be better at what it does to help Google to index your site. So that's kind of where that's all about. So let's move on to one other plugin I wanted to cover in this session, which is security. Really important. Um, so let's jump into WordFence. So WordFence is a premium. They have a free version plugin, which is we're using the free version right now. So we can resume setup right now. You can get a license key. I don't have time to set up the license key on this session right now, but I would suggest you do it. It's very easy to do. You can go click on this link, which I'll show you quickly. It'll take you to their website. You can go get licensed. It's free. They have different pricing models, but for most sites, I'd say the free version is more than enough for what you need to do, unless you're a bigger entity like Editors Canada, then maybe you may want to get a premium version. But if not, you can easily just say okay and take the free version, give them an email address, and it'll give you a key. So we're not doing that right now, just for the sake of time. I don't want to bog down waiting my email to get that email, everything like that. So I'm gonna leave that alone. So in this plugin, it has some really good tools. It has the actual dashboard. Let's see if I can get to let me. Oh, let's use installation. Okay, it really doesn't want to let me do it. Okay, give me 1 second. If I can trick it. Okay. Sorry, everybody. A little technical difficulties on that one. I'll just go over the high level of how it works, just to make it easy for everybody to understand it. So with WordFence, that has a firewall that allows for you to easily set up and see how everything is set up. So a firewall that blocks unauthorized traffic from hitting your website. Really important. You want to avoid that stuff. Actually, I have a solution. Thought of it. Show everybody. All right. So I actually have WordFence set up on this version. Just realized. Okay, here we go. Back in business. So dashboard. This dashboard gives you, it scans your site, looks for any malware or attacks and things like that. It helps protect your site from people who may want to harm your site or just jealous people. So you have the firewall. The firewall set up to help block any unauthorized attacks, people trying to hack your website, trying to hack into your login to do things like that. You'll also see them blocking. You'll see if somebody tried to actually hack your site, it will block those attempts. You'll see the scanning tool. This is always good to run every once in a while. It'll scan your site to see if there's any security vulnerabilities, like if your password is strong, making sure there's any vulnerabilities of plugins. One with plugins, sometimes they need to be updated and they may have vulnerability. That's why it's always good to update your plugins. So it'll check for those things. All great things are just to read through and see if there's any vulnerabilities. Right now, it's just asking us to harden the actual WordPress install. So in this case, these are all WordPress files. You can harden them by just hitting repair, and then it'll make it harder for them to be compromised, which is a great thing to do. And then there's other cool little tools they have in here too that can be useful. Not really I don't use a lot of these tools here. They're not really necessary. The main one I like to pay attention to, other than this, the file, is the login. This is really interesting. If you want to go above and beyond security, you can actually add two-factor authorization to your website. This is great if you want to make it harder for people to hack your site, because now, just like you're all familiar with like Apple, Android, they all have that thing where you like have to get like log in and then send you a text message, and then you have to type that, and then it gives you a code, and then you use that code to log in. That's literally what two-factor authentication is. So this is literally set up something similar to that. There's different ways you can do it. One is you can install the Authenticator app, which will randomly generate a code, and then you put that code in, and then that's how you log into your website. So this really just secures your website so that nobody else can really get into it unless you want them to. So great tool to use. I really like it. Yeah. So I think for now we're a little ahead of schedule, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think now we can start taking some questions.
Thank you for a great demonstration, Derek, and the questions are rolling in. Let's start with one that's of interest to many people here. Do you have any Canadian alternatives to some of these companies? People are interested in maybe Canadian domain providers and web hosts.
I think there is one called Canada Host. Let me look that up just to double check, make sure I'm giving the right information. Um,
Yes, and on a related note, because some of these might be less well known, what should they be looking for when choosing a hosting company?
so what you want to be looking for when you're choosing a web hosting company is you want to make sure you want to first like do some Google research to see what everybody else is saying about it. It's interesting, you wanna always check their customer service because for the most part, you wanna hear how well are they to their customers. Because if your site is acting up, you wanna know that you can get a hold of them. So I would say do Google research on their support. What is their turnaround time? Is it true? Because some sites will say they have 24-hour, turnaround time for support, but that might not be true, and maybe it's longer. But a quick Google search for the previous clients will very everyone will very happily tell you if they actually are living up to the standards that they supposedly have. So I would always say check that. I also check up their uptime. Uptime is how long is their servers up? Usually you want uptimes that are at least like 99% or so. What that means is how often do their servers go down? You want a site hosting site that has high uptime because you obviously don't want in a time where your site's has high traffic, it goes down. So you want a company that retains their servers and keeps everything up to date and only doing updates at off times so that it doesn't affect you. And here's a hosting company actually. It's called Web Hosting Canada. I'll just add it to my tab here so you can see it. I've actually a previous client of mine has actually used them, and they are Canadian, and they support WordPress too.
All right, that's great. Let me see if I can drop this link in the chat. And in the meanwhile, there are some questions that people who are new to having a website would like answered. For example, can I build the website on WordPress and get it online and then change the domain later if I bought a domain name sometime in the future? Or do I need to purchase a domain first?
So you can do like what we did right now, where you can purchase a hosting plan, like from like a GoDaddy or even from we have here Web Hosting Canada. Usually, what they'll do is they'll give you a staging domain, which is just some domain name that has a whole bunch of gibberish or it doesn't really make sense in it. But that could be your domain that you use to build and get your site set up. But before you take that site live and you want to share it with the world, I always suggest to actually buy a domain that's specific to you. Think about your domain as your unique address. You want to have that unique address so people can easily find you. And also, some search engines don't like these actual staging URLs. They actually don't index them. So it doesn't help you to be cheap and not buy. And domains are cheap. You can easily buy a domain for $12. It's only when you get more complex and using more common words that domains can get a little expensive. Like if you're using a domain name that starts with like car or something like that, then yeah, that'll be more expensive and consider a premium domain. But if you can keep it simple, then your domain shouldn't really cost you no more than like $12. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I was typing. If you purchase your domain name from one company, for example, GoDaddy, on a subscription basis, but you want to switch to a different company, is that possible?
Yes. So with domains, you can move them from one, we call them name servers. GoDaddy does web hosting and name servers. You can switch it to a different one. A lot of times with domains, usually they have like a cool off period. I think is like maybe like 3 months after you buy a domain, you have to wait like 3 months usually to switch it over. That's just for security and making sure your domain's not stolen. So you can't switch your domain like every like month. You could probably have to wait every 3 months to kind of switch it over. But yes, you can do it, and usually some companies will charge you a fee to import a domain. Some will do it for free, and then it can be done. It depends on each domain company who you're working with. They'll have a tutorial how to like transfer. It's called transfer out. How to transfer out your domain.
All right, and someone else is asking, I built my website using GoDaddy's website builder and don't seem to be able to build or edit it using WordPress, and WordPress seems much more powerful. Is there a way I can use WordPress now that my site is already set up and published?
So if you're using one of the GoDaddy builders, I don't think they're using WordPress for that. So if you want to convert that site to WordPress, unfortunately, sad to say you probably have to rebuild it again in WordPress separately. So you would have probably signed for a plan and set it up and do it. So, oh, did we get, sorry to interrupt. Did we get a chance to do the polls?
No, we didn't do any polls yet. Did you want to launch one
Yeah, let's
now?
do some polls. Yeah, let's launch the poll.
Okay, should we launch the first poll?
Yes.
All right, the first poll is up. Go ahead and answer, everyone. And in the meantime, can answer another question. There are a few questions about WordFence.
Mhm.
Someone is asking if one's web hosting already includes security, would you still recommend using WordFence? Do they do the same thing or is it different between front end and back end?
So it is a little different between front end and back end. So a lot of web hosters will do some security, like they might do like a CNN, they may have their own firewall. All those are very important security, and you want to keep those and use them that they may offer. WordFence is just an extra layer of security that you can leverage. Like one of the features that they have, which I like, is the actual login security with a double factor authentication. A lot of hosting companies won't have that as a security option because it's specifically just for WordPress. So that's something good to install just to give you that extra layer of security, because that they have to have that to even log into your site. So
All right, and so the first poll, the question was, which aspect of building your website feels most challenging? A lot of answers have already come in. So number one, by a small but good margin, is optimizing for SEO and security. Then,
okay,
yeah, shortly after that, a few percentage points before that, creating and organizing content and pages, which you did help demonstrate, and installing and configuring plugins. There was actually a question about that, where some people they start using plugins and then they don't get updated. Then they struggle to find alternatives. Do you have any recommendations or tips for choosing plugins? And if that comes up, how would you troubleshoot that?
sure. So let me actually go back to my screen. I'm gonna close this poll. Um, when it comes to plugins, I do have a couple of tips I would say. So we can actually go to the plugin store here on WordPress. So you can go click add a new plugin. Then we'll go to popular ones. And then, so whenever I'm picking a plugin, I like to look for I like to look at the ratings. There's one thing I like to look. I like to look at ratings, like see how the WordPress community has rated that plugin. It also gives you a little bit of understanding if it's even a plugin that a lot of people like and they enjoy and they're liking it. Another thing I also like to look at is active installs. Like, is it a popular plugin? Is a lot of people using it? That also allows me to feel a little bit more trusted. If it's a popular plugin, a lot of people use it. That means the community feels like they trust it. So for example, let's go with Elementor. For Elementor, you can see they have over 10 million installed. Pretty popular plugin, has a high rating. If you actually click on more details, you can actually see this is one of the things that I like to check too, is when's the last time they updated it? Very important. This at least lets you know, is this plugin developer actively updating their plugin for security and to keep the update with the current versions of WordPress, adding new features. So if you see this and you look at it and it says the last update was 2022, probably not a plugin I probably would want to use because that tells me they've missed many years of security updates and they're not in any rush to update it. So I probably kind of sway away from that plugin. This is also another thing to look at too, is required WordPress version. So this will tell you if it's compatible to the WordPress version you have. WordPress every so often will update the actual WordPress version for security updates and features. So you also want to make sure you're running a plugin that's compatible with the current WordPress version that you're running, because what can happen sometimes is you can have a WordPress version that is not compatible with your plugin and it can cause issues to your website. So sometimes you may want to wait and for them to update the plugin so it's compatible with that version, or you want to make sure you're installing plugins that are actually compatible with your current version. One thing that's cool about WordPress, it'll also have a flag on the top of the plugin telling you, "Hey, this plugin hasn't been tested with your current version of WordPress at the moment." So they give you that flag. Whenever I see that, sometimes I'm a little wary and then I may not install a plugin and wait for them to update their plugin with the newest version of WordPress just to make sure it is compatible and they tested it. So, especially if new people who are new to WordPress, I would say to look for those flags and pay attention to those little details because they'll save you from trouble where plugins are breaking your website or and updates where you're like, I installed this plugin and it hasn't been updated for like 3 years and it's having compatibility issues. So
All right, you can let me know when you're ready to end the poll. Only 5% of respondents said I'm comfortable with most aspects. So there are definitely some areas where people would like more clarification. It's not easy to figure it all out and get your website going.
for sure. You want to do the second poll?
Sure. So we're ending this poll, and we'll go ahead and launch the second and last poll.
By the way, there will be a handout provided for this webinar, just with quick resources and everything like that that will be shared. I also will be creating a download link for it too. So for anybody who's watching this on YouTube or anything like that, you'll be able to download that resource and hopefully it'll be helpful for you.
And quickly, there was a second question about WordFence. Unfortunately, it's been a little gap since the first one, but someone is asking, is WordFence the same as Norton Antivirus and McAfee?
So WordPress, I guess the best way to think about it is kind of like your antivirus for your website. It's a little different because McAfee and those are specifically for your computer. This is kind of more like an antivirus and security for your website to help protect your website from malicious entities.
As like you said, some people who are trying to mess with your website or they're jealous of you, you will want something like that. All right, and someone else is saying a lot of the advice and guidance I read stated that WordPress is likely far too complicated for some editors who want to develop their own sites. I ended up with using Squarespace. So, what are your feelings on some other website builders such as Squarespace?
Squarespace is a great tool. I think it's very helpful. I think the one thing I like about WordPress is the customization of it. So it there is a little bit of a learning curve when it comes to getting started, not a big one. As you can see in this tutorial, I showed you how quickly you can actually get a template running. But the advantage of this template is it's very easy for you to change things as you go along and as you get better at what you do and feel more confident. So if you want to change a footer, things like that with some Squarespace and some other builders, there is restrictions on what you can customize and how far you can customize it. For example, if you like want to change this color, to change the color of this banner here very easily, and then the text and the positioning of it, you can very easily change it. While the other builders, they specifically say this has to be centered, this has to be this color. Sometimes you can change the color, but maybe I don't want this text to be centered. I want to be left aligned. You can do that very easily within WordPress, just maybe because that's the style that you're going for, the design that you're going for. So there's a lot more customization, I would say. Um, so I would say it's worth the learning curve for the sake of the customization, and also over a billion, just a little stat, over a billion websites across the world are using WordPress. So it's a very popular platform. So even from outside of it, learning it helps you even when you're job market because a lot of publishers most likely they're going to have WordPress as their online platform for content. So it's a very popular used tool for websites.
So WordPress is very powerful, even though some other website builders may also be convenient. So it's definitely worth checking WordPress out if it's not too intimidating. And so someone is asking, what do you think about the differences of using a .com domain versus a .ca domain? And would there be a significant advantage to using it, perhaps as a Canadian business person? Maybe that's what they meant.
With everything that's going on in the world, I definitely feel like there's a lot of Canadian pride out there. So definitely using a .ca signals to a lot of people that you are a Canadian business. So there's also the advantage, I would say, for sure. I know when you do sign up for a Canadian domain, they end up sending you some information for the Canadian Domain Association. So you even get to be part of that community too. So I would say it's very helpful and useful. If you want to be more generic and have a larger, I guess, market in terms of how you want to position yourself, a .com is always good too. But WTAs are great. I love them. I love to use them whenever I can for businesses and organizations.
All right. And so someone else is asking, are there platforms other than WordPress that you can recommend? I guess, yeah, he mentioned Squarespace. Maybe if you have any other thoughts on the other platforms that they were mentioning, Wix and Weebly. A lot of people seem to be using those in particular. What are the disadvantages of those types of platforms for simple sites? Well, like you said, there is a lot more customization available with WordPress sites, but if you have any other thoughts on all of those and maybe the differences between some of those very popular website builders?
So the one thing I will say about those website builders, they're great for getting started. If you want to just do a simple blog, if you want to do a simple website, get started. All great tools. Wouldn't suggest going away from them. They're also cost effective. I know a lot of them will include hosting built in, and then you can automatically link in your own domain that you buy. So they make it very smooth and easy for you to get started. Some of the advantages I would say with WordPress is as you're going, if you want to add extra functionality to your site, like if you want to start running ads to make extra revenue, if you want to customize how a blog post looks, maybe you want to add extra features like a like button, social media hook-ins, other things like that. Some of those page builders may not have that functionality there, and because they don't have like plugins like WordPress, it's harder to add that function. So maybe you have to do a whole bunch of embed codes, and it may not look as clean, and it also will slow down your site because now you're adding more stuff to load on your site. Or WordPress, a lot of times you can add those features too, a lot easier. So really, I feel like it really just depends what you're trying to accomplish. There's a tool for every job. So if you want to simple and get going, that's fine. And I've met many businesses where they start off with like a Wix. They get going, they build their business up, and then they upgrade to a WordPress site because now they want to do more. Maybe they want to run a store, they want to have some more customization, show like a product category, a catalog, and they want to do a lot more. So then they upgrade to a WordPress environment because they need to have more control, but they also want to keep it simple.
All right, so if anyone else has any questions, please pop them in the Q&A part of the menu. If you hover your mouse, you'll see Q&A. It's hard to keep up with the chat. There's a lot of activity, so if you have any other questions to ask Derek, please go ahead and submit your questions under the question and answer tab.
Feel free to reach out to me after on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn here. Here's a URL to my link to my LinkedIn. In the handout I will be providing, there'll also be a link to my LinkedIn. So feel free to follow and connect with me. I'd love to connect with everybody and chat with everybody. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you have some direct questions, and you feel like you want to work with me, feel free to visit my website, mangoinnovation.com, and book a consultation call with me. Love to help you guys. Um, yeah, and give more tips. Um, Maybe one question I actually have for the community here is: would you guys feel like this webinar would be a? Do you need a part two? Do you think the part two is needed? Just since I have everybody here, would love to know.
I will also go through the results of the second poll real quick. The answers seem to be pretty split evenly between I'm a complete beginner, I've dabbled a bit, I'm moderately comfortable. So some people are complete beginners. When it comes to setting up a website, you want to be an editor. Now you have to figure out how to set up a website for the first time. Other people already have some experience, so that surely comes in handy. So yes, it's interesting to see that there's a pretty even split. Except for I consider myself an advanced user. Those only 3% answer that, but it's nice to have that much experience when you're setting up an editing website.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to do a part two if that's needed for people if they need a little more in-depth knowledge about certain parts of this.
Or just scanning through the chat right now, and someone is saying maybe something on accessibility and website design. A lot of people
Sure.
would love a part two, even a part three. Some interest in SEO, of course. That was the most answered question for the first poll. So Okay, and then just one last question here for now. Someone is asking, do you have any more alternatives to GoDaddy and such? Um, their website is not on a WordPress template. It's been coded in Vercel, Vercel, and they're looking for a host who can handle that. I don't know if you have any input on that.
So actually, I have talked to GoDaddy's partners called GoDaddy Partners. They actually do hosting for sites like that where you may need a raw server to actually host the site. So that may require some a server specifically configured for your site. So yes, they can do that. That's an option. Um, Another option is you would probably need a little help, but you can also look at AWS from Amazon. They can do custom hosting of specifically configured sites where you have something a little bit more custom. So that is an option too. With those kind of sites, there is a little bit more nuances to the server configuration where WordPress is just like widely used. They are easy for them to configure servers because there's just no like the back of hand. Whereas that are custom built technology websites, there's a little bit more nuances when it comes to server configuration and getting it right.
Okay, so a lot more of the same comments where people are excited for a part two, but I
Okay.
think that's it for the questions. So that will wrap up our session. So thank you a lot for joining us today.
Right. Thank